Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Kunya Bihari Gopijanta Bhallabha Devata Gopijanta Bhallabha Devata Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastavaesya Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttamasrike Aktir Bhavtinaistike. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Canto 9, Chapter 21, the dynasty of Bharat, text 18. Correct, huh? 20, yeah. Tat prasanganubhavena Ranti devanubhaktinaha Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana Tat prasanganubhavena Ranti devanubhaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana Tat prasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana Tat prasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana Tatpasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana Tatpasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana. This is please. Tatpasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana. Tatpasanganubhavena Ranti devanuvaktina Abhavan yogina sarve Narayana parayana. But for translation, Tat prasanga anubhavena. Because of associating with King Rantidev, when talking with him about Bhakti Yoga, Rantideva Anuvartinaha, the followers of King Rantidev, that is his servants, his family members, his friends and others. Abhavan became Yogina, first-class mystic yogis, or bhakti yogis. Sarve, all of them, Narayana Parayana, devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. Yes, Narayana Parayana. All those who followed the principles of King Rantidev were totally favored by his mercy and became pure devotees attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. Thus they all became the best of yogis. Please repeat. All those who followed the principles of King Rantidev were totally favored by his mercy and became pure devotees attached to the Supreme Personality of God, Narayan. Thus they all became the best of yogis. The purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All those who follow, the best of yogis or mystics are the devotees, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 6:47. Yoginam abhisarvam madhyanantratmana shalvam vajdeyaman sami yuktatamo mata. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. The best yogis even constantly thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the court of the heart. Because Rantidev was the king, the chief executive in the state, all the residents of the state became devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan by the king's transcendental association. This is the influence of a pure devotee. If there is one pure devotee, his association can create hundreds and thousands of pure devotees. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that the Vaishnava is meritorious. In proportion to the number of devotees he has created, the Vaishnava becomes superior, not simply by jugglery of words, but by the number of devotees he has created for the Lord. Here the word Rantidevanuvartina indicates that Rantidev offers friends, relatives, and subjects all became first-class Vaishnavas by his association. In other words, Rantidev confirmed herein to be a first-class devotee of Mahabhagavat. Mat Sevan Dvaramaro Vimukte. One should render service to such Mahatmas, who then one will automatically achieve the goal of liberation. Srila Narottama Das Thakur has also said, Shadya Vaishnava Seva Nishtar Payet Shekeva. One cannot be liberated by his own efforts, but if one becomes subordinate to a pure Vaishnava, the door to liberation is open. So I read the verse once again. Tat pasanganubhavena rantidevena bhaktinam abhavan yoghna sarve narayana parayana. All those who followed the principles of King Rantidev were totally favored by his mercy and became pure devotees attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. Thus they all became the best of yogis. Om Agyan Dimanasya Jahansa Sakam Chakshurmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chaitanyamanopistam Staptam Yena Bhutale Svyam Rupkadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiyo Shiyuda Padakalam Shiyum Vaishnavam Sa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Tam Tam Sativam Satvaitam Savadutam Parjan Saitam Sikrishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivshakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sinudina Banojyat Pati Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta State Tapta Kanchna Gaurangi Radhe Vinpanashvari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Haripri Vankha Kalpravisha Kripa Sinvaivasha Padnam Pavanvyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurupani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sriyavadi Paskachai Desatarani Srila Prabhupada Ki Prasangam attached to the devotees. Satam Prasangam. Prasangam Achopasham Kavyo Vidu. Saiva Satasukritu Moksatvaram Davitam. Prasangam Acham Pashamatma Kavyo Vidu. Saiva Satasukritu Moksatvaram Davitam. So Sukadev Goswami here in the Bhagavatam tells us how Lord Kapiladev was instructing his mother is that devotee he was instructing her that attachment to material things is the cause of liberation, is the cause of entanglement in the material world. But that same attachment, if transferred to sadhu, to pure devotee, it brings one on the path of liberation. So that principle is here demonstrated by, is demonstrated by the history of Rantidev. We heard before Rantidev how he was doing all these austerities. I have too much pain on my neck, so so Rantidev, he was very charitable. We have seen how he had been tested even by the demigods in his determination that that's a great example. But it is said in this verse, he was attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but all those who followed in his footsteps, that by his mercy became pure devotees. By his mercy. And what is his mercy? They became also attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus they all became the best of yogis. And Srila Prabhupada was in North America, then one priest came to see him and said, how is it possible? These are all our boys. And before they had no interest in God, in religion, and now they have become mad of God. How is this possible? That, yes, they followed Srila Prabhupada. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, they were put on the right path, the path of liberation. But in the purport it said, yes. So those who associated with King Rantidev, they became first-class Vaishnavas, but they were associating with Rantidev, hearing from him about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the real association. We hear from the pure devotee about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that hearing process is explained by Kapiladev. Satam pasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti kritkana rasayana krata. Tat yosnat apavarya vartmani shada ratir bhaktiyanuk amishati. Satam prasangam. Again, that word prasangam, attached to the satam, to the pure devotees. And what is this attachment? Mama Virya Sambido, hearing from them this very powerful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then when one hears them, Bhavanti Rit Karana, it comes to the Karana, to the ear, to the Rit, to the heart. And there is Rasayana Kadai. It's relished. And by that relishing, then one is on the path of liberation. And what is that path? is a path from Shraddha to Prema, 9 stages. 9 stages one goes to. But one goes to these stages on the instructions of the spiritual master. And these are not all straight stages. Shraddha first, one has some faith. And mostly one gets that faith from hearing from the devotees, from hearing from a Swami, those who heard from Srila Prabhupada, just by hearing from it. This faith was born, Shraddha. And then Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is association with devotees, but also includes taking shelter of a pure devotee, get initiation for him, and learn from him by hearing from him how to practice this highest bhakti yoga, the highest yoga, that is to be always living in relationship with Krishna within the heart. Living in a relationship with Krishna. But Narada Muni, Narada Muni was telling to Srila Vyasadeva the story of his previous life. When he finished telling it, he said to Srila Vyasadeva, look, when I just chant the glories of Krishna's pastimes and his holy names on my veena, then Krishna takes seat in my heart. He's there. It's living in a relationship with Krishna, feeling Krishna's presence factually every moment. That's the experience of a pure devotee. And because the pure devotee is living constantly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the core of his heart, and thinks always of the Supreme Lord in the core of his heart, that he gets the influence he gets the power of influencing others to advance in devotional service. When Bhakti Charamaj gave me my sannyas name, he said, your name is now Bhakti Prabhav. Prabhav means influence. Prabhav. That with your influence of Bhakti, now preach all over the world. That was what he said to me. So then I discussed with him, where should I go? And he said, you should go to Canada and to Mauritius. He wanted me to go. Yes. But anyway, also to other places. But interesting is by the influence of Bhakti, and that's how a devotee, pure devotee, works. I don't have that influence, but that the pure devotee has that influence of Bhakti. And he can make by that influence many devotees, and which is Srila Prabhupada. Although many so-called yogis came all before him to America, no one took up the process of devotional service. No one became a devotee. Only when Prabhupada came, then he made devotees all over the world. In 11 years, more than 5,000. It's an incredible feat that was never done before. So he had that capability to create thousands of devotees. It is said, if there is one pure devotee, his association can create hundreds and thousands of pure devotees. So seemingly, King Rantidev was one of them, was such a powerful devotee that he could do that. That is, but of course, Narada Muni also, that of course, our great example was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was preaching in Varanasi, and he converted all these Mayavadis into devotees. Impossible to do, but he did. That so many became devotees. So Vaishnava becomes superior not by jugglery of words, but by the number of devotees he has created. Not by jugglery of words. So sometimes we think to make devotees, we need to preach. We need to preach. But preaching can be done in many ways. When Uddhav came to Vrindavan, that he was sent by Krishna to console the gopis and to give them a message. And Uddhav was a personal associate of Lord Krishna. He was his personal associate. When he saw the gopis and heard Srimati Radharani mad dog to the bumblebee, he understood. I've never seen such a high level of devotion. I just want to become a grass halm in Vraj so that they can trample upon me. But what does a preacher do? What's the effect of a preacher? It changes the heart of the one who hears, undergoes a change of heart. That's what's happening. And the gopis, they were not preaching. They were just doing their household chores and thinking of Krishna. But they changed the heart of Uddhav. Although he was already on the Krishna conscious level, he was elevated by them. He underwent a change of heart. That just by their pure devotion, they were not preaching to Uddhav by their example. So a devotee, just by his example, by his behavior, he's already preaching. That just his association creates this spiritual atmosphere. Wherever such a pure devotee comes, it becomes Vaikuntha, spiritual world. And everyone had that experience who was around Prabhupada. They felt all very satisfied, very sheltered, just by being with him. And the example is given here of King Rantidev, how he was on that level. He was a first-class devotee, a Mahabhagavat devotee. And Krishna wants such Mahabhagavats to engage in his service many times. Therefore, he wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj on the throne because he was a Mahabhagavat. He wanted Prahlad Maharaj on the throne and Dhruva Maharaj. He said, well, when he was touched by the conch of Lord Narayan, then he said, I don't want anymore what I wished. before. It's like broken glass. I don't want that kingdom greater than that of my great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. No, I don't want it anymore. Well, Lord Narayan, that's okay, but you can go back to the spiritual world, but I have first some service for you. So I want you, I think it was 32,000 years, rule the universe. He wanted Ismail Bhagavat to do service and rule. That is interesting. The Mahabharata devotees of the Lord. So yes, another aspect here in this verse is following in the footsteps of the pure devotees that follow the Gata Sapanta, yes, the Marjanam, follow the Marjans, the pure devotees, like Brahma, Bali Maharaj, Srila Vyasadeva, Vishnadev, so many. And also we see here Rantidev, of course, this is near to the conclusion of this pastime of Rantidev. We had heard about the qualities of Rantidev before, that his tolerance is being submissive to Krishna's will, submissive, humility, tolerance, and these are two factors which are of primordial importance for coming to the level of transcendence. And that is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya. That one must be tolerant and humble, humility, no honor for oneself, giving all honor to others. So that's a state of mind. Without that tolerance and humility, it's not possible to advance. Of course, it goes together with being non-envious, not envious. These are important qualities we need to develop to access the transcendental realm. Otherwise, we cannot turn this transcendental knowledge we get here into realized transcendental knowledge. What is the condition? Dat Vinapanapatna Pariprashna Sevyo Prediction Tegan Ganos Tatfadakshan. Approach a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. There's humility. And the spiritual master will follow you, instruct you to follow regulative principles, and you have to learn to be tolerant, tolerate the urges of material nature. It's an endeavor. But we see Rantidev was a master in controlling his senses. He was fasting, even from water to the point nearly of dying. And all these demigods came to test him. That's interesting. The demigods that they test pure devotees. But when the test is over, they become afraid of him. Because pure devotees have great powers. They become afraid of performing Vaishnava aparat. So yeah, this is the first class devotee. The example here, Antidev, is a model of a pure devotee. Yesterday we heard about Prahlad Maharaj, is another role model of pure devotion. And so that's the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, we are at the end of the 9th canto here, nearly. That in the first cantos, we have learned about the creation, how to connect everything with Krishna. That how to free ourselves of the gross material influence. We have heard Narada Muni instructing the Prashetas, and before the Prashetas, their father, King Prachina Barisat. King Prachina Barisat, who was attached to fruitive activities. And it took such an endeavor of Narada Muni telling this allegoric story of Puranjan, of helping him to give up that attachment, that was a whole endeavor. And then, of course, we're in the 5th canto about we heard about Dhruva Maharaj in the 4th canto, and in the 5th canto about Bharat Maharaj, how he fell down, what the dangers are, and how fixed up you must be in devotional service. And in the 6th canto about the importance of the holy name. The 7th canto, we hear about the pure devotee, up to the 10th canto, Prahlad Maharaj. And then the last chapters, they are about instructions for different varna and ashram, which Narada Muni gives to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Then the 8th canto is interesting, it's about surrender again, Pali Maharaj, that the whole story of the conquering of the heavenly planets. Then we see the importance of total surrender, how to do that. And here in the 9th canto we come at the pure devotee Rantidev. Of course, we have also heard about the Ram Lila and so on. So it's preparing us now to come to the 10th canto. The 10th canto, the smiling face of Krishna. And by the 10th canto, if we heard the first 9 cantos, we must be quite pure in heart if we try to follow it nicely, verse by verse. Some purification must have happened. And then, because in the beginning of the 10th canto, Sukadeva Goswami gives a warning. Nirvitatar serpa yamanat vavastat vibam manobar viramat. Yeah. Did you take your medicine of hearing sufficiently? The previous cantos, is your heart purified? Is it free from lust? Because otherwise you cannot understand this 10th canto. You cannot go into the pastimes of Krishna and derive all benefit from hearing these pastimes. What's the benefit of hearing these pastimes? Janma Kama Svedam Yomi Vetitat Frantiakvam Punavshaman Naitamam Itsuryan. You don't take birth again. That is a great benefit of hearing. Good. Any questions? Yes.
You might for the class the question about prior to that receiving guests. So we had 4 guests, right? First was Brahmin, then Shudra, then person with dogs, and then Chandal. But then we hear that these guests, they turned out to be demigods. So Brahmin was Vishnu, Shudra was Brahma, and the person with dogs was Shiva, and who was Chandal?
The Chandal, I don't know. There's the dog eater. That was it not mentioned?
Because 4 guests, but 3 main demigods, and Prabhupada mentions and so on, but it doesn't specify who was that. I mean, it's maybe not important, just curious.
Yeah, if it's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, I don't know why. It's interesting. Demigods. That yeah. It's also it's mentioned in the pastime of it is in the 11th canto, the pastime of the Avanti Brahman. That they mentioned in a verse how devotees are tested by envious demigods. Because when you become a pure devotee, you lose all your material desires. But the demigods have still material desires. Subtle, but they have material desires. They want to rule the universe, and therefore they don't have direct contact with Krishna. That's blocking them from that. And they become envious, or he becomes better. Let's see. Okay, let's test. But then when the test is done, and the devotee passes the test, then they understood, yeah, okay, I cannot go any further, because otherwise Krishna will not be pleased. Because they know how dear pure devotee are to Krishna. So yeah, that's a principle, but of these details I don't know.
So you mentioned about the influence of a preacher, so like Franti did, and also Mahaprabhu that he converted in 2 minutes or 2 minutes so many please personally, which is not possible. So is it that Krishna can make anyone into a devotee if he wants? And if that's the case, what is the role of the preacher? Because from that past time, it seemed that Mahaprabhu can turn anyone into a devotee if he likes. But somehow we think you mentioned it's due to the influence of devotee. So
that's true what you say. The only real preacher is Krishna, but he uses his pure devotees as instrument. We don't have power to change someone's heart, but the pure devotee has the power as an instrument, and Krishna uses them as an instrument. So Krishna's mercy goes to the pure devotee. You cannot get it directly. But that principle we can understand from Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajadam pritibhovakam tadami buddhyogam yenamam kupayantite. To those who are worshiping me with a little love, pritibhovakam, tadami, I give buddhyogam, realization to the heart, change of the heart. It's Krishna in the heart who does it. But he does it. Krishna does it to the heart, but he does it when the pure devotee blesses. Then Krishna starts to give it. Because we don't have this pretty bovakam, this little love. We don't know what love is, spiritual love. No idea that But yes, if we take shelter of the spiritual master, we get the mercy of the spiritual master, and Krishna accepted us a little love. And then he changes the heart. So that's how it works. It's a cooperation between the pure devotee and Krishna. It's very beautiful. But factually, Krishna changes the heart. Krishna is the only one who can turn in your heart knowledge in realized knowledge. That's the process, the Dharmi Buddhi Yoga. And that happens by the mercy of the spiritual master. Divyagan Ride Pokasito. That's the same thing. Divyagan, this realized knowledge, comes to the heart. By the mercy of the spiritual master, Krishna does it. That's how the process works. Beautiful. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for being late. But I mentioned that Krishna's intention is the smiling face of Krishna. And we are in the street give the Krishna book to people, and even on the first page, it's the Rasalini. So what is the intention of Prabhupada to giving directly the 10th book to the public?
The Krishna book is different from the 10th canto. In the 10th canto, in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada explains the philosophy in detail that even a neophyte can understand it. He educates them and explains them the principles of the 10th canto. It's not the same. It's not the same. Because the first book I read more than 30 years ago was Krishna book. And by reading Krishna book, I became a devotee. So powerful, Krishna book. Should read every day Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for all the knowledge. I was just, in regards to the discussion we're having here, in the purport of this verse, Prabhupada says, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is meritorious in proportion to the number of devotees he has created. But from what I understand, we don't really make devotees. Like, so how can we say that a devotee has made devotees? I guess you already answered that. I'm still a little confused.
Yeah, if the
Maybe they don't hear the question. The question, maybe they cannot hear.
yeah, that well, the point is how a pure devotee makes other devotees. But it's because he gives Sambandha Jnana. He gives knowledge about Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. That and by his purity, he attracts people. He attracts people. They by his influence. That and if they feel inspired to take up, he plants the seed of bhakti. And that's explained by Lord Chaitanya, that Brahmanda Brahmate Konya Bhagavan Jiva Kuri Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakta Lita Bhakti Lata Beach. One goes up and down in the universe, and by Krishna's mercy, one meets a bona fide spiritual master, and the bona fide spiritual master plants the seed of bhakti in the heart of the devotee. So that's really our pure devotee attracts people that they become influenced by hearing from him. And they feel inspired to follow and to take up the process of bhakti. That one can call it charisma or whatever, but it's Krishna's potency of bhakti. And they become influenced by that. And that was the case by Prabhupada. Everyone who saw Prabhupada only once became attracted. And thousands took up the process of devotional service. And that potency of Srila Prabhupada has not ended. Srila Prabhupada said, my recordings, my voice recordings are my separate energy. So through that separate energy, he's still preaching and making devotees. That I became a devotee by reading Krishna book. I never met Srila Prabhupada. Just by his potency, by that book, by his words, by his explanations, my heart changed. So that potency is within our movement. And every one of us can continue that potency to the extent our heart is pure. We can give that to others. Even if your heart is not pure, you can give it to others. You give them a book, and they will read the book. And Prabhupada's potency is there. Practically, we are still preaching on the basis of Prabhupada's potency. And that's the reality. We do not have power to preach ourselves. We are not the Mahabharats, but we have the power of the Mahabharat. That was Srila Prabhupada. And in our movement, we have different personalities, and some are more powerful in that medium of giving Prabhupada's potencies than others. And some are attracting more, some less, but they are all doing the same service. We should all be appreciated for that, for trying to give that potency of bhakti we got from Prabhupada and others. Is that all? Yeah, good. Yeah, last question maybe. Yeah.
Now, at the same time, you're not on the separation. So how can you use that to relation with Krishna? We are relation with Krishna. What is separation, but at the same time, always.
When after 20 years, Krishna met again with the gopis in Kurukshetra. He said to the gopis that he said that also during the Rasa dance. He said that also to the wives of the Brahmins, that when you think of me in your heart, I'm there with you. You think it was imagination, but I was really there. So factually, these feelings of separation is also a union. But because the way to be in union with Krishna is always think of him. But it is a more intense love of Krishna. But he said to the gopis, you think you are separated from me, but you are not. And then they became pacified. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I just comment on it.
Yeah.
I think it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It says Viraha means separation.
Yeah.
But another meaning of Raha means meeting, and V means a special.
Special meeting. Okay, thank you. Nice comment. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.
Respected to our former monarchy.